makes you think that M, the head of British intelligence, will oblige you by falling in with your plan?
Johnny, what the hell are we going to talk about today? Well, Johnny, today we're going to talk about the most horrific thing that's ever befallen governments around the world, ever. What's that? The internet. The internet? The internet. The internet has given ordinary people the ability to find out what the fucking hell's going on in government more than anything else in history. But Johnny, surely that's not the worst bloody thing that's befallen. Yeah, and the governments don't like it. Hell yeah, now. Well, Jesus,
What do you want me to do, draw you a picture?
Oh, Johnny, you're saying the governments have been heading down this bloody path for decades, and they've got this cosy relationship with big business and the press, and the internet has come along and fucked all that up? Is that what you're saying? Now, back in the day, Johnny, we had 3 channels back on the farm, black and white TV. We had a newspaper, 2 newspapers, and whatever was said in the newspaper back then, we just sort of believed. We didn't know about all the behind-the-scenes bullshit that was obviously going on. We just didn't hear about it. There was no way to hear about it. There was no way to discuss it between ourselves. You could have a telephone call and you could have a bit of a chat around the barbecue or whatever. But there was no way for huge bloody populations to start thinking about things and scratching their head and saying, hang on a minute, what the hell's going on here? That's what the internet has done. And as I said, government's the shit scared of it. But Johnny, what the hell are they scared of? There was a time, Johnny, believe it or not, when mainstream press hated the fucking government's guts. Yeah, that's right. They'd do anything to bloody embarrass them or put them down. What about Watergate?
The Nord Stream pipeline, when talking about Wuhan. Tell me what you think is driving this new extreme sensorialism.
It's a little bit hard to know. In my youth, which was a very long time ago, newspapers like the Washington Post and New York Times actually enjoyed dissing on political figures. I grew up when we were getting rid of Richard Nixon because of all the lies. But now, these papers don't do anything.
Let me say this simply and clearly.
Yeah, governments everywhere, Johnny, have got this cosy little arrangement between government, big business and the media, the mainstream media, so that everything just flows along and whatever we say will be, it will be accepted.
But now, these papers don't do anything but repeat the lies.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter who gets in, Johnny. It doesn't matter. Big business and the media, mainstream media again, and the government, they all work together to get a combined message across that'll keep them all happy. Yeah, these days, Johnny, the press gets in with the bloody government, the politicians, they all become friends and on a first-name basis. They follow the bloody leaders around and they're not going to jeopardise their bloody place by printing things that may embarrass the bloody government. Are you kidding? Johnny, governments have got to have secrets. They've got to have they've got to have secrets, don't they? So that democracy actually doesn't exist because you're not actually voting for anyone who's going to do anything for you. Now, Jimmy Dore, who I don't know much about, I sort of stumbled across his bloody channel while doing my research for this particular broadcast. He's talking about Bill Maher, who's warning everybody that democracy is in danger with the elections coming in a day or two. And if you don't vote Democrat, the country is doomed.
This democracy is on the ballot.
Oh, yes.
Because the GOP is authoritarian. Democracy is on the ballot. Even Bill Maher, I couldn't get through this. Kurt sent me this video. I could only get through this much of it. Here we go.
You to vote in what, honest to God, is really the most important election ever. So, okay, yes, you should vote. And it should be for the one party that still stands for democracy preservation.
At first I thought he was joking. But you have your head so far up your ass that you could see Russia. Because The democracy in the United States was stolen a long time ago, Bill. And Princeton already proved it. They did a study that we live in an oligarchy. That's not hyperbole. That's not some kind of cute thing or a clever saying or a glib fucking remark. That's a scientific fact that your democracy has been stolen from you, Bill, which is why 80% of workers live paycheck to paycheck. Half the country can't afford a $400 emergency, and workers haven't had a raise since 1980. That's why we still don't have health care like the rest of the world. We still don't have a living wage, and we have people living under every bridge.
Oh, Jesus, Jimmy's not holding back there, Johnny.
We don't live in a democracy, which is why we can send $100 billion to the most corrupt country in Europe, while we still don't take care of our own people and they go bankrupt when they get sick and live on the street. So we don't live in a democracy. This idea that somehow one party cares about democracy while the others doesn't. You know, they both serve the same corporatocracy, which is what we live in. An oligarchy, run by corporations. We now live, as Chris Hedges has explained, we've experienced a corporate coup d'etat in slow motion. And instead of having a dictator, the dictator has now been replaced with the nameless, faceless corporate state, which controls every part of our being. They control our free speech. They control what medical treatments we get to experience. They get to mandate us to have experimental medical. We don't live in a goddamn democracy. That was taken from you a long time ago. And this is just him repeating propaganda. And he's being dumb on purpose because he's wealthy and he doesn't really have any problems he want government to solve.
So as Jimmy says, Johnny, democracy has been stolen. Now, we've been rattling on about this sort of thing for quite some time, Johnny. Yeah, well, we have been harping on it. But it is an issue because the governments who are in this cosy relationship, they're shit scared of what the people might decide. Right, yes. But because they're shit scared about what people will decide, that means democracy is in trouble. Because if we let people bloody decide what we're going to do, well, then the fucking government's rooted. So what have the governments been doing all this time, Johnny? Where the government's rights and democracy has been so threatened that... And people who are actually questioning what governments are actually doing, they're a danger to the status quo. Now, we do a lot on the US, Johnny, but the US is just a bloody mirror for what else is going to go on around the world. Whatever happens in the US will eventually happen in Australia and England and all that sort of shit, and it already has. I mean, our political system here is stuffed. Same sort of thing. I've never been contacted once by our sitting member of parliament, either state or federal. Wouldn't even know where their fucking office is. Perhaps that's my bloody fault. But Johnny, these days, people aren't so worried about their future because there's fuck all we can do to change it. As long as we got Netflix and can hold on to a job by the skin of our teeth, that's all we care about.
To your broader question, can we overcome tyranny when the people are complacent? No.